Hello, friends and colleagues. Welcome back to our weekly podcast. This is podcast number 5, our series of everything that you wanted to know about advertising, but no one's really wanted to tell you. I'm here with my partner, Vivek Kuchibotla, and I think we have a very interesting topic this week to talk about because it's been in the news. Vivek, you wanna give us a little introduction on this?
Absolutely. Good morning to everyone. We're recording in the morning, which is unusual. So, good morning. So today we're going to talk about Effie's. We're going to talk about the one award show that is not controversial and that everyone can get behind. Both advertisers and agencies believe in the Effie model of awards. And we're going to do 2 podcasts, actually. We're going to do one that provides some tips to advertisers regarding how to win an Effie, or 5 easy tips to win an Effie. And then we're going to do one for agencies because we found that they both want to do it, but they face different challenges along the way. So that's where we are right now.
What's the Effie? Tell us a little bit about the Effie Award, Vivek.
The Effie Award is the Effectiveness Award, and it is designed. I don't know when it was actually launched. I think it's about 50 years ago, and the thought was that this is an award effective business results. So at the end of the day, it's not awarding creativity, it's awarding results. And it's grown to be a worldwide phenomenon. And pretty much every country that has a marketing and advertising industry is now annually doing the Effies.
CMOs love them, right?
You spent a lot of time you spent a lot of time developing entries for the Effies in your career, I imagine. Every year.
Many. Whereas maybe Cannes was the awards ceremony that agencies appreciated the most and maybe changed the way agencies were seen and perceived in the market. Effies is a game changer for CMOs. It rewards them. It can dramatically change the direction of their professional career. And a lot of CMOs have become famous because of, the winning Effies and developing in the end, it's developing campaigns that really transform business, isn't it? So
the Effie is the one award that is completely aligned with what marketers actually want to do, which is hit their objectives. Every year, every 6 months, it's all about hitting your objectives. So if you win an Effie, it means that you've hit your objectives, and you've secured your bonus for the year. So that's always good. But the other thing that no one is willing to talk about, but that is a driver for a lot of marketers, is that if you win an Effie, you attach yourself to a success model, and that's the first step in becoming a famous marketer. And if you're a famous marketer, you add rocket fuel to your career, even beyond the company you're currently working at. I mean, you will always be associated with a successful campaign, and you'll be able to merchandise that to move your career ahead. No one will admit this, but it is true, and it is a driver.
Well, you were a client initially before you moved over to the agency side. So today we're going to talk about what advertisers look for in terms of winning an Effie. So we're gonna provide 5 tips, and
5 tips,
and from the advertiser perspective, and as you said earlier, in the next podcast we'll do it for agencies. So why don't you start with I should start with tip number one.
Tip number one.
Yeah.
Just a comment before I go to tip number one.
Yep.
I've spent 20 years doing workshops at agencies, and I often present myself as an ex-client, an ex-advertiser, and who has come to confess dark, dirty little secrets that agencies are not privy to. Yeah, I'm going to dig up some dark, dirty little secrets of advertiser land and throw them out here.
And this is the beauty of our podcast. You hear things that you normally don't talk about. So
this is true.
Let it rip. Let it rip.
Okay, so the first tip, the first tip, and it's axiomatic in this industry that you're going to get better results if you have better people working with you and for you. So the first tip is, as an advertiser, make sure that there's a match between your needs and your agency's true capabilities. We all know that agencies are hungry for new business, and in that hunger, they will basically promise to do everything for everyone, because if they ever recognize that, they're not great in one particular area, they might get excluded from the possibility of winning that business. So they'll say they'll do anything, and that they can't do anything, and that they have done everything, and they can do it for you.
Okay.
It's not true. So you want to make sure, you want to have a deep understanding, successful, and you want to make sure that your agency can deliver. And Ricardo, I mean, you've worked across a broad range of different agencies and types. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the different skill sets that exist and don't exist in agencies?
Right. No, so some agencies are really good at packaged goods. Some agencies are really good at telecom. Some agencies use different techniques, different resources. There's a lot of agencies, but not every agency does everything, nor they do, the things that a certain advertiser may need, retail versus branding versus promotion versus, I mean, I remember the agency that you worked at, Burnett, it was very famous for the characters that it developed. Charlie the Tuna, Tony the Tiger, and so forth. Gray Advertising, which was my home for many, many years. Famous for being a very account-driven packaged goods agency. Procter, General Foods, solid work. Probably not the most creative, but very solid work. A lot of Effie wins. But again, very focused on fast moving consumer goods. So it really depends. And then there are other agencies, creative hot shops, that are better at doing, other products. We were talking earlier about Axe and Lynx, which is a Unilever brand, but really went beyond, and broke a lot of paradigms about, body sprays and deodorants and so forth. So very different approaches to how to solve a business problem.
So the big thought here is, if you're I have nothing but great memories of Leo Burnett. I love the place, but it was a packaged good agency. So for example, if you're a packaged goods marketer, you want to find an agency like Leo Burnett or Gray. But if you're a technology company, make sure you're not stuck working with a packaged goods agency, because that's not going to give you the results you want. And one final point, we're not necessarily suggesting that you need to break your relationship with an agency right now and rush out and find a new agency. But a lot of work is done now on a per project basis. And when you're looking for the agency for your next project, have this in mind. Find the right agency, get the right people and the right capabilities working for you. So that would be point number one.
Let me go to point number two.
Can we move on to point number two?
Yeah, I'll go to point number two and I'll talk about
Go.
it because this is something that I did when I was an account director and running accounts. And that is I would encourage my client to have put aside a little bit of budget to do some innovation and some experimenting. Something that would just move them a little bit further away from what they were really setting out to do and traditionally doing. And this was an opportunity to experiment. It was an opportunity to learn, to improve, to try some things that potentially could have a very interesting business result as well. So let's comment on that. The whole idea about experimenting, the whole idea about having an approach to just sort of try new things.
It's obvious that both of us worked on P&G many years ago, and this is a P&G thing, but it's really smart. There's different ways to call it. Sometimes you set aside some money to do a test market, some new initiative, something different. You test it, or you set aside some money for what used to be called challenger copy, which is, I'm doing great in advertising right now, but I can do better. So let me set aside some money and play around with stuff and see if I can. Another way of doing this, you'd set aside some money and you do what they used to call a how high is up test, which is how fast, how aggressively can I drive growth in a specific market. And the central thought is, yeah, I got my brand advertising, my marketing plan, it's working nicely, but I'm setting aside some money to experiment. And very often, if one of those experiments worked out, you could potentially have something that would be really successful and that would win you your Effie. And another cool thing about this is that when it's a small amount of money, the focus is on learning. If it blows up, if it doesn't work, no one gets blamed. You just learn from it and you do it again next year until you find something that works. It's a very healthy practice, and I think every marketer should do it to some extent.
Fail fast.
So that's
and learn fast and do it cheaply. Don't have to do it expensively.
That's another way of that. That's the 2023 way of expressing it. But it's a good thought. Just do something, learn from it, and if it's a success, great. Otherwise, learn, move on, do it again.
Three.
So let's go with tip number 3.
How many ideas?
You do this one.
Yeah. How many? So let me ask the question: how many ideas are really great ideas are killed because the briefing and the approval process is very poor? I'll leave it at that. That's sort of the preamble of the next point.
Most agencies can come up with really good ideas, but they just never get produced. Mm-hmm. So it's like those ideas never happen.
They're in the
Um,
drawer. They're in the
every
drawer.
agency is
They're in
capable
the
of doing great work.
they're in the
They're in the
drawer.
drawer. They're in the drawer. Or as I like to say in Spanish, un cementerio de leones. It's
Oh
the lion cemetery. It's where lions go to die. They just never happen. So tip number 3 is to have a good and efficient briefing and approval process. And this is completely in the hands of advertisers. Advertisers make a mistake when they try to jam an inefficient briefing process down the throat of an agency. The only thing that this produces is a lot of rework and frustration in the agency. And again, advertisers, if they insist on having an overly complicated and hierarchical approval process, the only thing they're doing is making the work worse. They're not improving the idea. They're just slowly destroying the idea, right? So if you want better work, make the process more efficient, a better briefing, and a better approvals process. Now, let's talk about how to do this, because it's easy to say, but people have been trying to do this for a long time. I'd like to suggest a simple solution. And the solution is as follows. Ask your agency, how do you want to be briefed?
Right.
And whatever your agency says,
Do it that way.
do it that way. Do it that way. It'll make them happy. It'll make their life so much easier. And it'll remove all excuses. Briefing is no longer the reason why the work is not good. So whatever they want, do it. It doesn't cost you anything. Do it however they want it to be done. And I would say the same thing with the approval process. Ask them, how would you like us to handle approvals? And what most agencies will say is, we'd like to do one presentation where the decision maker is present. Do that.
Yeah.
It's not going to cost you anything. It's not going to cost you any more, and you're going to get better work. I'm sure you've had experiences like being on the agency side. I'm sure you can tell a lot of war stories about briefs and approvals.
Well, I learned early because I had a really good boss in that he knew who the decision maker was, and he made sure that great ideas got to him before they were killed. And we would do it well so that no one would look bad. But we made sure that the right people were in the room to make the decisions. There's a lot of marketers that have, big teams, and those teams were authorized to say no, but they weren't authorized to say yes. And you got to get to the person who is able to say yes. And that's important. And again, there's ways to doing that. And the right relationship also makes all the difference. I love the point about briefing the agency the way they wanted to be briefed. I think it's so relevant, so important. And it allows for a lot more opportunities to come up in terms of creative ideas and solutions. So terrific.
And just one final thought with this. Again, this whole podcast is advice to advertisers.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're talking to advertisers, and in this point specifically, all we're saying to the marketer is, put your ego aside for a second. Do the briefing the way the agency wants, do the approval the way the agency wants, and you will get better work. And all we're asking is to put your ego aside for a second. So right. The benefit's going to be yours.
Go to point
let's
number
move on
4.
to the next one.
Yeah, I want to go on to point number 4, Vivek. CMOs that also have an objective of winning EFFIES with their work And again, Effie, it's not like you have an objective to win an Effie, but your objective is to develop work that transforms business or will drive to a business solution. And Effie is a way to demonstrate how that works out. They're also careful in how they select an agency and how they decide on which agency that they work with. And their driver is really one thing, which is the talent that agency has, the people and the talent that agency has, to be able to work on their business and help them solve the business issues, etc. Not on whether the agency is less expensive, not on whether the agency has capabilities and resources that they don't need, but the right talent. So let's talk a little bit about that, because it is often a mistake that agencies are selected for all the wrong reasons. And you want to work with an agency that's going to really help you and really become your partner here.
I think if we reframe it as you're not really choosing an agency, you're choosing a group of people who are going to help you build your business, it clarifies the real issue. Because an agency can have a lot of case studies and might have won a lot of awards, but we're talking about other people who worked on other brands and did great things. So the fact that an agency might have been the most awarded agency at the latest Cannes Lion doesn't mean anything really, unless the people who are standing in front of me actually had something to do with those lions that were won.
Right.
Because these are the people who are going to be working with me on my business. So I think the focus here is get the measure of the team that is standing in front of you. Ask them to talk about what they've done, what they've achieved. But don't worry so much about what other people have done on other businesses, because you know what? Unless you have the ability to bring those people onto your business, that discussion is pointless. It makes no sense. It's not going to help you.
Yeah.
Right. And let's not even talk about money at this stage. Let's talk about talent. Let's talk about the people who are standing in front of you. That is, bottom line, the most important thing, in my opinion. Credentials presentations don't build brands. People build brands.
Right.
People who work on your business build
Right.
brands.
Right.
That would be tip number 4. And we're going to go a little out of the box here. Do you want to do tip number 5, or should I do it?
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm known for my crazy thinking. So,
but it's something that
here's a crazy thought.
But this is something we both feel strongly about, and we talk about it when we do agency search for advertisers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you want an agency to give you extraordinary service and do the absolute best they can for you, you can certainly ask for it. You can certainly be a good client. You can certainly motivate them. That's all good, but you need to reward them for it. So here's a thought. Give your agency a financial incentive for winning an Effie. That will certainly focus their efforts. Money talks. In every business, money talks. So build it into your contract. Have a gentleman's agreement. Do it however you want. But come to let the agency know that if they win an Effie, there is a monetary incentive for them immediately. And if you're not able to give them the monetary incentive, here's another idea. Promise them new business. Give them new business in exchange for an Effie. So you could say, the agency that wins me the most Effies is going to be the agency that is going to handle the next product that I launch. Make it transparent. Make it simple. The rules are clear, and you will get the agency trying, because they know that beyond the recognition, there's going to be a new product assignment. Crazy thinking? I don't think so. What do you think, Ricardo, ex-managing director of an agency? How would you react to this proposition from a client?
Well, love it. Love it. Also because an additional financial incentive means that I can actually reinvest and put also more resources against the business. And there's nothing like a client that is loved in an agency for many reasons, not just the financial ones, but for everything that we spoke about this morning. Creatives will fight to get on a brief that they know is going to be good, that they know is going to potentially reward them, not just in the financial side, but the emotional side, because they're very driven by that as well, or the ability to do great campaigns that will have a lot of visibility and will have will potentially make them famous. So pay your agency properly and you will get all of the resources. You will get a lot of attention. You don't have to pay them more than you need to pay them. Just pay them properly. And that's a conversation that's done at the very top as well, but has to be frank and open. And, the best resources are usually put on a business when there's proper compensation. So a super important point.
In the world of business, the two great motivators are recognition and rewards. And this is a case where if you win an Effie, you get the recognition, you should also get the reward.
Right.
We're not inventing anything here. We're just taking things that have worked forever and a day in the business world, and we're suggesting you extend this treatment to your agency. So let me do a quick summary here of the 5 points. Make sure there's a match between your needs and your agency's true capacities, point number 1. Point number 2, set up a system where you can experiment and that you can learn and no one gets blamed when things go wrong. Number 3, set up a good, efficient briefing and approvals process. Basically ask your agency how they want it done and do it however they prefer. Point number 4, pick an agency focusing on the team that's going to work on your business, and don't focus as much on money or cases done by other people or awards won by other people in other markets, because it's largely irrelevant. And the last point is give your agency a financial incentive for winning an Effie. And we think simple, not hard to do, doesn't require any additional investment by the advertiser, but it can certainly set you on your way to win a lot of Effies. And even if you don't, it'll certainly improve your operation and your results. So this is a win-win.
It'll improve your creative work for sure.
Without a doubt.
Right. Excellent summary.
So those are our tips for today.
Excellent summary. Excellent topic. It's Effie season, so it's very relevant to talk about this right now. good luck to all the advertisers as they go into Effie Awards, and not just now, but for the future. Our next podcast number 6 next week, will focus again on Effies, but from a perspective from the agency side, and how the agency thinks about what it takes to win Effies. So we look forward to seeing you then. Subscribe to our channel, give us some feedback. Vivek and I are passionate about what we're doing, and hopefully you are too. And we look forward to continuing to build our podcast audience with everything that you wanted to know about advertising that maybe but people don't talk, but advertisers don't, but agency or advertisers don't talk about. So see you in the next episode, Vivek.
Take care, guys. It was a pleasure. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.